Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. Can you guess what day it is today? It's Get Ready With Me Day. And I asked you guys over on Instagram what you wanted to see, and I've got all the results right here, and we're gonna do what you guys voted on, and we're gonna also go through a bunch of questions I got. So this is gonna be kind of a going into spring, summer look slash Q&A for some of your most frequently asked questions about Seint IIID Foundation. So we're just gonna get right on into it. If you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for being here. All right, friends. I switched my part. I'm always doing this. And I'm like, oh wait, my hair's on this side today. Switching it up. How are you guys doing? All right, so let's get into it. I have done nothing to my face except my normal skincare routine this morning. So I'm gonna try to answer some of these questions I've gotten as we go. And then I'll also look and see if I've missed any while I'm doing my makeup as well. But first things first is the question I get all the time. What kind of primer do I use? I don't use a primer. In fact, I don't recommend a primer with Seint IIID Foundation unless you are oily and need mattifying control, okay? So I just applied my vitamin C and my sunscreen this morning. I love the Supergoop line, the Glow Screen. I got asked if I've tried their brand new, what's it called? Sheer Screen? Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. They just came out with a new one, and no, I haven't tried it yet. But if you saw last week's video, I love the serum SPF vitamin C combo. It's so good. But on the daily, in the summer especially, I feel like I want extra glow, so I go for the Glow Screen. If you don't like a dewy luminosity to your skin like this, then stick with a different sunscreen like Elta MD, something without a lot of silicones. I did check the ingredients, and there is one silicone in that new one, but it probably won't affect your makeup unless you have, unless your skin is super sensitive to silicones. I feel like it's a trial and error thing. Like, this is my favorite for that dewy look that I love in the spring and summer. I don't know what it is. I use it all year, but especially when I really want my skin to show, I'm gonna use that as my primer. It's technically supposed to be an SPF and makeup gripping primer, but I don't use it as a primer. I just sunscreen every day. Don't miss a day. Okay, so I'm gonna use my eye primer now. I get asked a lot of how you can prevent your mascara or your eyeliner from transferring to your top lid. And the first thing is an eyeshadow primer. If you're skipping this and having trouble with transfer or longevity of your eyeshadows, this will make a huge difference. In fact, I can't do my eye makeup without it, or a couple hours later, I will have creased eyeshadow and my eyeshadow just fades. I can't not use an eyeshadow primer. So this is one of the first steps, like got some in my eye. First steps always. So this one's an Amazon find. I love it. Works just as good as the higher end stuff. So now that my face is prepped, I'm gonna say real quickly, setting spray. Okay, so it depends on your skin type. This does have some silicones in it, so some people can use it to prep their skin. I would say if a little bit of silicones don't affect your longevity of your makeup, by all means, go ahead and use it. If you need more moisture to your skin, it's really good for dry skin because it does have the hyaluronic acid. Or do what I do, I just wait and I put this on after my makeup to set it in place. Some people have longevity issues if they use this as a primer. Just a heads up. I'm gonna stop talking and let's get into the results, shall we? Okay, so I thought it was gonna be really close. The first question I asked you guys, do you wanna see Demi or 3D? and it was an overwhelming amount of 3D. So I'm sorry, Demi girls. I promise I got you next. I'm working on a Demi full get ready with me troubleshooting / do's and don'ts video. Okay, it's coming. So the next question was natural or full coverage. And you guys, this was pretty 50-50. I think full coverage won by like 10, which to me isn't very much to win by. That's pretty 50-50. So I'm gonna just talk to you guys about one simple switch that can give you natural to full. Okay, so we'll talk about that. So that way you can adjust it on the daily. That's what I like to do. That's one of the reasons why I love this makeup so much, is because it's just not like one coverage all the time. It's fully adjustable. Okay, so the next one was colorful look or warm / neutral. And again, overwhelmingly, you guys want neutral. You guys are my peeps. You guys know I don't do. Maybe it's just because the people that follow me like the way I do my makeup, which is mostly natural. I am not a big, bold, colorful makeup kind of person on the daily. I like a good, fun eyeshadow, an occasional lip, but I'm pretty neutral girl. And you guys know I love my warmth. So we're gonna do some warm neutral, but while still using the eyeshadows you guys wanted me to. So then the last question was bold eyes or bold lips. You guys totally know me so well. Bold eyes won by a vast majority. So eyeshadows. Wow, you guys, there was a lot of different combinations, but as I went through it, the most requested was purple. Purple eye looks, yet with warmth. So we're gonna see what we come up with. We're gonna show you how we can add some purple, yet keeping a warm look, because you guys want warm and neutral. To me, our purples are very neutral, and I'll show you how neutral they will look on the eye. Okay, and then lips and cheeks was, oh man, you guys, there were so many I had to tally. 2, 1 that were like kind of opposite, so we're gonna kind of show you how you can use them together. So Plum, which to me is both kind of more mauvey purple and neutral, and then Hollywood, which is more of our pinky peach. So we're just gonna play with it and see what we can come up with using both of those shades together in some way or another, okay? You guys see me looking at my iPad during this time, it's because I'm gonna make sure I answer all of your questions. So first things first, let's do some skin. So I'm prepped, I'm ready to go. Okay, so full coverage versus natural, okay? Either way, no matter the look I'm doing, I color correct. And the main reason why is because if you are using, say you're wanting to like make your makeup quicker and faster for the summer because you don't want to wear a lot of makeup, okay? If you try using a lighter shade than you actually need, you know, we all get a little darker in the summer usually. I mean, not me because I self-tan all year round, but I notice even my hyperpigmentation will pop out the more I'm in the sun. So if you're not using a darker shade and color correcting that, guess what? You're not gonna get good coverage because your lighter shade will never fully cover and correct it, which leads to you having to use more of that lighter shade when in fact you could have used much less of 2 if you just apply them properly and just apply very little of your color corrector, match your darkest tones, and then you can use that main shade. And you guys, I can look like I'm not wearing anything at all on my skin layering shades. It's all in application, brush choices, and the magic of this baby, okay? So I'm gonna show you guys how very little of your color corrector you truly need, because I feel like that is the biggest problem, is that people just apply way too much of it and then they're saying they're getting pulled too dark, too orange, not matching, too yellow, whatever the case may be. There's one simple trick to keeping it looking like skin, and that is using a small amount. And one of the questions I had was, everyone says use a small amount and to blend, but I feel like there's no color left after. So that to me sounds like a shade issue, because if you're using very little of a color that's too light for you, you're never gonna get the coverage you want. So I see this all the time because I do so many rematches. People are just using the wrong color. If you're not getting the coverage you want from one color and very little product, you need another color, okay? And that might be the case of using a darker corrector and then using your color that you had before. I'm always surprised how many people manage to get coverage from some of these shades that are like 3 shades too light for them. And I'm like, wow, how are you not going through a ton of product and feeling sticky or getting lots of creasing and having it look like makeup? And the truth is, you can't have it look like skin unless you have the proper colors. So I'll get off my soapbox. Let's talk a little bit about color corrector. So I'm gonna show you guys, really, it doesn't matter what brush you use, okay? As long as it is something that deposits a very small amount of product and that you're using very little. So you guys know I usually use the the blush bronzer brush, okay? Not swiping in, and I'm just gonna tap, okay? And my redness isn't too crazy today, so I can just kind of press it right there and buff it in. If you aren't buffing in your first layer, your color corrector, you're gonna have too much product. So you can't even see that on my skin. So when I touch my skin, it turns red. So that's why it suddenly looks darker, but it's truly not a lot of product. Very little goes a very long way, okay? Now, another brush you can use is the blend brush. So for this area around my nose, I have a lot of people that are like, oh, but this is pulling texture. It's because usually that area around your nose is darker than the rest of your face. So a touch of a color corrector, and then suddenly your main shade will go on and it won't show it sitting in your pores anymore, okay? That's a good sign that it's just too light. Okay, a brush like this will really deposit a very small amount of product. Now I've got a lot of redness right there from breakouts, but my nose is darker, so I've got to use this color all over my nose. Otherwise, my nose will pull textured and it will fade through the day. Okay. See how very little that is? You can't see it. If you can see it, you've probably added way too much, okay? So now I'm just gonna go, this redness is right on the end of my chin. Okay, so you can go with a smaller brush like this and really do precise application. This is kind of a fluffier brush, so it really won't pick up a lot of product. But again, don't be swiping. I'm just tapping and then I'm distributing it. So I've got a lot of redness on my forehead right now. So I'm just very lightly pushing that all over, okay? And then I'll show you, you can even use the other end and just kind of, it doesn't pick up as much, so I tapped in a little bit more. Okay, and then just kind of buffed that on, okay? Buffing motion equals thin layer. So if you are pressing on your main shade with this brush, then, or especially if you're using the buff brush, which is much more full coverage, or even this brush will pick up a lot more product, then the only way you might be able to get a nice thin layer if you can't buff on the product is then using your perfector. Okay, so preparing this is key. I get asked all the time because people are like, well, I use my perfector and then it takes off all my makeup. It's too damp, okay? If you don't prepare it and let it dry out a little bit before you use it, it's gonna be too wet. Like I can feel this right now and I just got it ready before I sat down and it's probably okay to use, but it's a little bit more damp than I'd like. But if you don't squeeze out every last drop of water and then put it in a towel and really squeeze it a few more times, it will be too damp, okay? Even this, if I used it right now, if I did a full face, this is gonna pull off some of the color. I can just tell by feeling it because I've done it long enough. I was asked the other day why my perfector is larger than theirs. If your perfector is not fully doubled in size, you're not squeezing it under running water fully. Like if you just run this under running water and then just squeeze it out, it's not gonna fully absorb water and then double in size. You have to squeeze and release under running water a few times. Then once it's big, then squeeze it out fully. Get out every drop of water. Then dry it in a towel. Then let it set. I'm telling you guys, when I discovered how important this is in not blending the makeup, I don't use it to blend at all, for just removing excess. This is the only way to get off excess if you apply too much. So if you're using a brush that picks up a lot of product and you're putting on a color corrector and it's pulling you too dark and you feel like this is pulling it off, this is too wet, get a brush that will buff on the color. This brush does not buff. It doesn't work. It's too dense. It's too dense. So you need a softer brush, okay, that will really buff it on. I mean, you can't tell. I mean, you can tell I'm not as red and I don't have as much darkness, but for the most part, you can't tell. I just put that color corrector on, okay? Now, under eyes was another huge question. So I have changed the way I've done my under eyes 100 times. I kid you not. There is something about under eyes. If you have like aging under eyes like I do, it takes a lot of trial and error, okay? Because everybody's eyes are so different. You've got to be willing to try different ways, okay? Try different brushes, okay? Try not using brushes at all. Like I used to apply, I think mine with this brush, okay? And then I used to use this brush. And then I used this brush. I kid you not, I've tried it all. So now I like using my finger for the first step, okay? But if I use the finger for my second step, I apply too much. So do what works best for you. That allows you to apply the thinnest layers possible to get the coverage you want. And then know how to use this to press it in. I don't recommend layering any colors on your face without this. And then the secrets of using a proper powder if you do have aging eyes like I do, where it's impossible to not get creasing without a setting powder, okay? So I'll go into that when I'm ready for the set step. So I'm having horrible texture issues because my under eyes have been peeling for months, okay? I can show you, you can still show very little texture. You can tell I barely touched my eye and it's bright red. It's been irritated, okay? But the key is proper amounts, okay? So I'm just gonna tap so I just get an even layer. I'm not getting much, but I got an even layer across my finger, okay? So I'm kind of letting it warm up on my hands, okay? Something about a brush for me will leave strokes or not get it evenly distributed. So again, whatever works for you. I start at the darkest point of my eye, okay? And then if you don't like to pull, you can totally just press, okay? But I can tell by kind of just running my finger really gently, like I'm not tugging at the skin. I can tell whether I have enough or not, and I can tell if it's distributed because it will kind of stick to certain parts, okay? And you can tell I already have quite a bit of coverage. Now, if I want more coverage right here where it's a little bit darker, I'm just gonna kind of press on. a little bit more and use the warmth of my finger to make sure it's not too much. Okay, so I am not gonna use the perfector at this step. And the reason why is because I know this is too damp and I know I can control the amount I'm using so that as I'm building up coverage there, I can wait and perfect in the end and just kind of press it into the skin. If you are brand new to this makeup, you might like using it at every step, okay? But no, you need to make sure that this isn't too wet or it's just gonna pull off what you just laid down, okay? So same thing, other side. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do my eyelids, which aren't as purple as they normally are today, but this one, I like the Buffy brush, okay? I like to be able to get in around my eyelashes and just kind of color correct all that purple. Okay, and then I usually look for any areas that might need a little extra help. Okay, so when it comes to blemishes, I like precision brushes. Use the multitasker. You have to match the darkest tones when it comes to blemishes. Blemishes, as they heal, you know, first they're bright red and angry. Then as they heal, they get dark and more purple and just turn dark. And Mango is honestly one of the best to color correct. If you're super fair, you might be able to go with Amber. Depends on how dark your dark spots are. Most people though that get brand new blemishes, doesn't matter what their skin tone is, Mango will match that darkness. You know, all blemishes are about the same redness, right? It doesn't really matter your skin tone. They all kind of look angry, right? So my hyperpigmentation right here, I like to use my finger again. Again, I have experimented with a lot of different brushes and I just like to use the warmth of my finger. Again, hyperpigmentation, I don't know about you guys, but mine has texture to it. So the more I layer in that area, the more it can show textured if I'm not careful, okay? Hyperpigmentation is also needs trial and error. Everybody's hyperpigmentation is different tones and darknesses. What works for me might not work for you if yours is darker than mine, or if your skin tone is really different, or if the tone of your spots are different, okay? But the premise remains the same. Color correct, main shade, color correct, main shade. Slowly build up thin layers. Use this if necessary. Main shade to keep it matching. You might even need, depending on the contrast in between your skin tone and the dark spot, you might even need a lighter shade, like as in your Brightener, in order to kind of keep it matching. But the premise is exactly the same. You use the dark color corrector to match the darkest tones of your dark spot, and then you layer until it's fully covered, okay? So this is just layer number one. And dark spots and blemishes, you literally cover the exact same way, okay? You layer and then you set it with the powder so it doesn't move, and then you're good. Now Demi is completely different when it comes to blemishes and dark spots, but with 3D, you have to layer, otherwise it will never be matching the rest of your face. Okay, so now let's talk, no matter what kind of coverage, I'm doing this step, okay? Now then, if I want very natural, I'm gonna pick back up this brush, okay? If I want it to look like skin, this brush will pick up the least amount of my main shade that I can literally tap in and buff it on where I didn't place that color corrector. Now my color corrector isn't a huge jump from my main shade, so I can really kind of barely use any over it to kind of keep it matching and not pulling too warm. If you have more of a contrast, then I would recommend the blush bronzer brush and pressing on your main shade with this brush to keep everything matching. Now, I would say this is gonna give you probably more medium coverage. So in order to really press it into the skin and take off that excess so that it looks like skin, super natural, you have to use this. And you're gonna have to use this pounced all over the face. It's the only way to remove that excess, okay? And that will kind of matching, keeping you with the coverage that you want, but allowing you to get it to look like skin. There's no way for this makeup to look like skin without this, in my opinion. Okay, so then say you're a full coverage girl. I would say you can definitely get full coverage from this, doing the same thing, pressing it on. This is why this is my favorite brush, because you can easily get light to full coverage depending on how you use it. But I would say my biggest recommendation for full coverage is doing your color corrector, keeping it light, and then pressing on your main shade with the buff brush. This brush picks up a lot of product, okay? So tap, don't swipe, and then press all over, okay? And I'm not swiping it all, okay? I'm pressing and pouncing that color in to make sure it's blended at the same time and not streaky or too heavy, okay? And you can kind of tell the difference, light, full, okay? So since I can't decide, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the rest of my face with this. It's my ride or die, which will give me more medium, I would say. Since you guys couldn't decide, I'm just gonna go right in the middle, all right? But I will show you, it will still look like skin when I'm done, because that is the way I always want my makeup to look. I never wanna look like I'm wearing heavy makeup, which is why I love these creams. And I'm sure I'm gonna get asked this question, and people might be like, well, why did you apply your highlight all over if you want a natural look? And that you don't have to do depending on your face. So depends on your face. My face, I needed extra coverage here. If you don't need extra coverage, you don't have to layer, okay? But if you're layering properly, it will still look like skin no matter how much you layer, as long as you're not picking up too much product on your brush. It's not gonna ever look thick and heavy unless you have the wrong color. If you have the wrong color and you're trying to build up coverage and you're having to apply too much in order to give coverage, then it will start looking thick and cakey. So when people tell me it looks cakey, my first question is, what's your colors? And then what brush are you using? How are you swiping in? All of those things. Application really is so different with this makeup. You gotta know some key tips and tricks. You saw I used this brush to put my main shade under my eyes. Not very much. I just kind of gently pressed it over it, but I do layer all three. And the reason why is because that gave me even more coverage than Mango did, okay? I'm slowly, I like to call it stair-stepping down, okay? Because I want to look light and bright under my eyes. I don't want to have a darker color corrector and then pull my under eyes darker. I want to be able to brighten. So the only way to do that is to lay down a color corrector that will take out the tones around your eyes that you're wanting to get rid of. Use that main shade to stair step it down closer to the brightness level you want to get to. Then you can apply your brightener and it's gonna sit better. If I was to go straight from Mango, my color corrector, to my brightening shade, it's gonna show way more texture because there's way too much of a jump in between those shades. But as I kind of stair step down, I get it closer and then I can use a lighter shade. Same goes with if you want a super bright pop, like if you like linen under your eyes. It's beautiful, it's very bright and it will totally pop. But for me, because my skin tone is much darker than linen, I would have to still use my color corrector, my main shade, my normal brightener, and then a little bit of linen on top of it. Otherwise, so much texture. It will emphasize every single line under my eyes. Now, you might say, Sarah, that's crazy. You literally are gonna layer 1, 2, 3, 4 shades under your eyes. And yes, I totally can because of this. It's all in the amount you use and being able to figure out the application that will work for you and utilizing this. There's no reason you can't layer with the Perfector. Okay, I feel like I'm missing all of these questions, so let's just see if there's any tips and tricks on covering up a sunburn. Color corrector, all the way. I also got asked if you're starting to tan with a sunless tanner, do you need different contour and highlight? Totally depends on your contour, how dark you're getting, how much you're changed, but yes, as you tan, whether it's natural in a sunburn, okay, sunburns totally need color correction because usually what? They're red, okay? All the shades don't color correct redness in the same way. So having a shade that's meant to color correct redness and matching the point of the sunburn. So mango would be a great place to start. I feel like mango, it does color correct redness and is about the shade of a lot of my clients as they get tan in the summer. So I mean, it can vary obviously, but a lot of my clients get up to the shade mango if they are like dark tan, okay? Mango has the undertones similar to a suntan, which is warm orange, red undertone. Getting a shade like mango to color correct first, then you can use your main shade to kind of bring it back down to matching, especially if you just get red, you know, in the high points of your face where the sun hits first, then you can correct that. Your normal shade might not sit over that, especially if you have a much lighter normal shade. It all depends on what your highlights are, to be honest, and what your skin tone is. But when it comes to self-tanning, yes, key with this makeup, in order for it to last on your face, is to match the darkest tones first. If you're using a self-tanner, you're darkening your skin. You have to match those tones, but depends on the contour. If you're already using a shade that's dark enough, then you're fine. If you're using more of like a mid-tone shade, you might just have to apply more in order to see it, but it depends on how dark of a sunless tanner you're using as well. So for me, I sunless tan all year round. I use Astoria, sometimes Indigo, but I can wear the mid-tone shades, which is like the olive, henna, ash. I can wear them all, but I have to apply a lot more because they're lighter than Astoria. And hard time with the cream settling in my pores and wrinkles. Suggestions. First of all, do you have the right colors? Are you applying too much? What brush are you using? Are you swiping in? When something is settling, you're using too much product. So sometimes that's because it's a color issue. You're not getting enough coverage, so you have to apply more to get coverage. Sometimes it's as simple as you're not using your Perfector or you're not using it properly so that it's actually removing excess. Sometimes it's because you're digging in with your creams, using a brush that applies too much. A lot of people, as they start, like everyone is heavy-handed with the makeup. But as the more and more you apply it, the more you realize how very little you need if you have the right shades. So I would say all of those things, okay? And then if you're still not applying a lot, using this Perfector, all those things, and you still, maybe you just have like deep smile lines like I do, then just set that area. Use the Vanilla Dust, very light setting powder, only set where it creases and you'll be golden. Like I just set here and sometimes here. If I build up to full coverage, I know I'm gonna have to set this area because I have more cream on my face. And with anything, our creams don't set. They will migrate if you don't set them with something like a powder. So I know if I do full coverage, I have to put setting powder here or it will migrate into my smile lines throughout the day, okay? Do I wear a primer? I already said, no, I do not. When do the new eye colors get released? They say this summer, but I don't know dates yet. Under eye color correction, we did that. Favorite lifestyle items? I did that last week, or at least some of them. Now I've switched to cream makeup. My mascara transfers under my eye. Okay, with creams, if you're not setting your under eye with a powder, your mascara can transfer depending on your brand of mascara. So if you're using a mascara that is a really wet formulation, it will, unless you are fully setting under here so that there's no cream formula pretty much left, like powder under your eyes will totally help. I find that even using eyeshadow right here where your lashes kind of touch helps, because again, that's setting that area because you're adding a powder there. But I would say my number one recommendation is switching to a tube mascara, the kind that so I think one of the most popular is the Thrive Cosmetics, the lash extension kind. I know it's super popular with artists because it kind of creates these tubes around your lashes and they come off in tubes. It won't flake, it won't transfer. You gotta find a formulation that's not so creamy that it will transfer. Let's go ahead and contour. I don't know why, but for some reason, when I'm thinking spring, summer, I like a little bit more warmth to my contour. So I like to go up to indigo. So I know indigo is super scary for people. It is neutral, but it does have a very red undertone on me since I naturally have redness in my skin. So you'll see it pulls a little bit more bronzy, less like a natural shadow like my normal Astoria, but more bronzy. I'm gonna call it bronzy, not red. Okay, so again, kind of tapped in, so I got it on half my brush. Okay, one of the things was contour placement. Okay, I feel like cheekbones is always the hardest part for people. So take the part of your brush where you applied the color and act like you're gonna cup your cheekbone up at the highest part of your ear. Okay, if you don't know where your cheekbone is, literally roll a pencil, okay? It naturally will go from about the top of your ear to the corner of your mouth, okay? That is exactly where you want to start pressing the color, okay? If you start sweeping like this, you're gonna blend it all away, okay? Press it on, but stop about the corner of your eye. So act like you're going towards the corner of your mouth, okay? Stop about the side of the eye, okay? And then just keep going back and forth along that line. Okay, you can tell it's already much warmer than my normal, okay? Now, I've kind of got it on, but I want to kind of start blending and distributing it. So, I'm going to start pouncing upwards. Not much upwards, okay? But just a little bit so that I'm blending out the top part of that contour, and it's going to kind of ombre, okay? We never want to blend it down. We never want to shorten this part of the face. We always want to blend upwards, okay? Now, if it's still too intense, which I feel like it is a little, I'm gonna take the brush and then I'm gonna start kind of flicking it upwards to kind of blend the bottom part as well. Okay, I already kind of blended the top. It'd be helpful if I can keep my hair out of my face. Okay. Flick upwards, okay? Now, if it's still intense, I still don't want you to do this, okay? If you're having trouble with contour, get the detail brush. It is a game changer. I can't contour with anything else, to be honest. I never like the way it looks. So then if it's still too defined here, I like mine defined, but not everybody does. Kind of take another brush, the brush you used for highlight usually, and just kind of press it along that line until it's kind of blurred enough that you are comfortable with it. I feel like as we are brand new to contour, it can take some time to get used to having so much definition on the side of your face, right? So don't be scared. It will blend, okay? We can still blend it more with the Perfector if needed and kind of press it in and remove some excess, but mainly you want this to fade as it goes towards your mouth, okay? Get darker as it goes back towards your ear because that's where you naturally are gonna have more of a shadow as you turn your face, right? Okay, I hope that helps. Forehead, super easy. Along the hairline, okay? Farther down on your temples you go, the more it will make your face appear thinner. And then farther down on your forehead, it will make your forehead appear shorter, okay? That's pretty much it. Press it along the hairline. Okay, you always want to blend up into the hairline and down onto the highlight. You never want a line there. You want kind of, foreheads to me are like an ombre, okay? We're framing the face, okay? And you can see how bronzed that looks on me, okay? I feel like lightest skin tones can wear indigo. Okay, jawline, you wanna go back to the darkest part, which will be behind your ear first, okay? And then just kind of pull it under that jawline, okay? Up and under. And then you can just blend it down the neck. Now, if you're wanting to disguise jowls or anything like that, then you kind of have to go and add the shadow where you want. But just be careful you don't put a stripe on the side of the face. You always want to kind of blend off those edges. Okay, so I'm contoured. The only place I'm not going to use indigo is my nose. So indigo, I know pulls red on me, okay? Your nose is usually the #1 place that pulls red for anyone, okay? My nose, you saw I had natural redness there. I've got to use a very cool contour. So the only two I will use is Astoria or Shadow. Shadow is designed strictly for noses. It's not to be used all over the face. So if your artist color matched you to Shadow, don't use it. It can actually, it's very hard to blend. It doesn't have any warmth to it. It can be a very difficult shade to wear on the face. I'm gonna go ahead and stick with my detail brush and I kind of get the very edge and I'm gonna kind of squish it so I can kind of get a line there. Okay, I did one side so much better than the other. All right, I did have a contour question. Let's see, what was it? Can you contour a nose to distract from a nose hump or bump? You can, it just takes practice. So I would say, for me personally, I do have a bump right here on the front of my nose. So, and if you're not careful, depending on your nose stripe, if you kind of just follow the natural shape of your nose, it will go around the bump, right? So what you got to do is almost start going down, okay? Then I got a bump there, so I'm going to kind of correct. And instead of following the natural shape of my nose, I'm going to kind of go skip over it and keep it straight, okay? So it's all just, I feel like the lights, you can't see it very well, but it's all about keeping these lines appearing straight. If you follow the natural lines of your nose and your nose does bump, then it's going to emphasize the look of your bump, right? Okay, can't do a summer look, summer, spring, whatever this is, without Bella bronzer, baby. So if you haven't seen, I pretty much always have a glow illuminator right next to my Bella. And I like to use a bronzer brush and I like to swirl or kind of tap. Now my bronzer is very dry because it's been in my, it will dry out the more you have it in your compact. So when you first get it, be very gentle. You can't really swirl as willy-nilly like I am, okay? You can tell there's not a whole lot on my brush. But as your Bella starts drying down, then you'll be able to see, you can really use it more. Okay, so I'm just gonna add that in this C formation around my face. Okay, I haven't brightened yet, so I'm gonna show you all the places. So bronzer just goes where the sun would naturally hit your face first. Think highest points of your face, what sticks out. Your forehead, your nose, your chin, and your cheeks. So I then will go back and I will brighten in order to kind of emphasize my eyes, right? So we brighten under the eyes, center of the forehead, down the nose, Cupid's bow, and chin, okay? So if you think about it, you don't necessarily have to put bronzer here. You're gonna put a brightener there. So that's why you'll see me a lot of times I just go in this kind of C formation, because sometimes I bronze first, sometimes I brighten first. Just kind of depends if I forget or not. So I'm gonna put a little bit on the touch of my nose, not much though, because I just contoured. And then I always go down the neck. Now I know that necks usually don't get tan, but we always want to keep matching, okay? We always want to warm it up, baby. I got asked about the order of application, when to blend, when to perfect. I like to blend as I go. I like to use my brushes to blend, and then I like to perfect after my accent brightener. And the reason why is because that is my last highlight shade. The main reason I say use this is to press in your highlights when layering. Now, if you find that the rest of your face needs help blending at the very end, by all means, press this all over when you're finally done. I don't like to use this after my blush because I feel like it can pull away my blush, and I like to kind of put my blush exactly where I want it, and then I'm good to go. So, personal preference, order of application is very personal. I tend to always I kind of am stuck in my routine, and there you go. So I color correct, highlight, contour, and then I accent brighten. Oops, yep, I bronzed in there. See, sometimes I bronze after I accent brighten. And then now I'm going to accent brighten. Then I perfect, then I blush, then I set. So, and then illuminator is very last because you don't want to take away that sheen with powder, right? So let's see. We're going to do accent brightener. So accent brightener is one that I love to press on. So we just added, you know, all these colors. So we already have the coverage we want under the eye, but now we're going to bring those attention to the eyes, okay? I like the buff brush because I can press this on. I don't ever have to pull and move any of the colors I placed on my face, okay? So again, I never swipe, I tap. That's it, okay? Since I contoured my nose, I'm gonna go all the way up to that contour right there. I have a wider nose, so I wanna kind of minimize that, which means you don't wanna add contour there, or it's just gonna widen the look of your nose. You want that brighter, okay? So I go all the way up the side of my nose, and then I kind of skip this area because highlight seems to collect there, okay? And then I'm just gonna start tapping that product outward, okay? I'm not applying any contour or any product there because I have a lot of crow's feet, right? And I don't want to emphasize that. I'm just gonna press to kind of distribute the product like down and out, okay? Without applying much more. I'm just gonna kind of slowly press. This is how I get it really thin. I still get that brightening effect under the eye, but it's not so much that it's aging me or emphasizing the texture I already have there, which is a huge problem for me. So I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. I tend to have to use a little bit more on the side of my nose where it's the darkest. Okay. Okay, so down to the side of the nose, skipping the nostril area. This is also why I kind of blush last. I like to brighten and then I apply the blush so that I'm not covering up my lip and cheek with my brightener as I, you know, kind of blend better that way, in my opinion at least. Again, personal preference. Okay, then I'm gonna do the center of the forehead right there. And I also like this brush because it really presses in the product. So if you're applying this and it's suddenly emphasizing lots of texture, you're either using a brightener too light or you really need to use this, okay? Because if you were to zoom in, you can see texture right there where I added it, but once I perfect over that, it will press it into the skin and it won't look textured anymore, okay? So into the chin, okay? Above the Cupid's bow, and then right down the center of those contour stripes, okay? So we suddenly just brightened this triangle which is what? Bringing attention to our eyes. Now, if you are one of those people that have a lighter neck, then you want to take this and you want to press on your brightener along your jawline as well. Okay, so don't forget that. We always want to keep it matching. Okay, so now I perfect, because now I look like I've got makeup on, because I like to, you know, I have to apply this a little bit heavier so you guys can see it on camera. And the only way to kind of get it to not look like it's sitting on top of my skin is to perfect it. So I'm just gonna start right here. Okay, and I'm going over everywhere I layered that accent brightener first. Okay, while my perfector is nice and damp. Okay, mainly under my eyes. And I'm just pouncing, I'm not pulling at all. Can you see the difference already between the two sides? Now, if it feels like it's already warmed up, like your skin will warm up this perfector so fast. Once it's no longer feeling cool to the touch and you can feel that on your skin, I rotate, okay? Because it's no longer like pulling off excess, okay? And then I do the same thing on the other side, constantly moving my perfector so I'm using the coolest parts so it can do its job. You're prone to creasing. Okay. And then anywhere you layered. Okay. Then your perfector will probably be a little bit warm by now. Okay. Now I take it to the rest of the face to just kind of blur any edges. Okay, and then make sure the nose contour, you don't want to be able to see it from the side. You're good. Okay, so that is how I perfect, right? So now it looks like skin again, okay? And now before it moves, I'm gonna go ahead and set under my eyes. So if I started talking and doing other stuff, I might even crease, because that is how badly my under eyes crease. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the vanilla dust, and I'm gonna use the powder, now it's not called that, the powder brush. I'm gonna use this end, okay? Now, one of the biggest things with under eyes is using too heavy of a powder or applying too much powder. It will immediately age you 10 years. So the key with this makeup is getting very thin amount. If you have too much applied, no matter how much powder or what powder you apply, it's gonna look cakey. Now, if you use very little, you make sure you don't have any creasing. Like, I can barely feel the creams under my eyes, but I've got great coverage, right? So I'm gonna just barely touch, not with pressure, just barely touch. And then I'm just gonna press it. And that is enough for my entire under eye, and it's not gonna crease at all. Okay, now this is a finely milled powder. I can't do the same thing with most loose powders on the market. They will immediately show texture, okay? So I'm set, good to go. I don't think I ever applied my main shade on top of my eyelids to kind of even them out even more, keep them matching, okay? So then I always powder. Now here I can use this as much as I want, so I usually swipe in. We want a nice powdered base for eyeshadow so that it blends really well. Okay, so I'm not gonna set the rest of my face yet. Here's what we're gonna do. So first things first is I'm gonna look and I'm gonna see if I need more coverage anywhere, okay? So here I pretty much just layered one time with my color corrector, my main shade, and I'm probably completely fine with that. But if, say, I was being really picky and I was like, oh, I can still see some darkness right there, I would grab my detailed brush, my multitasker, and I would press on a little bit more of my color corrector to get more coverage on that dark spot. Okay, again, I can use my fingers to kind of press it in. Okay, I can use this detailed in for any blemishes because guess what? I've already perfected. Now the perfector can really pull off coverage in key places. Like I've got a blemish right here. Okay, so once you've kind of given a little bit extra coverage, if you need your main shade to kind of keep it matching, press on a little bit of your main shade. Okay, if it looks like it suddenly has texture, be very gentle with your perfector and kind of just press it in and pull off any of that excess. If it looks fine, don't touch it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do blush before I set my face because I don't want to look cakey at all. So if you layer a powder and then put a cream over it, it can lead to cakiness. So let's see, what was our votes? Our votes was Plum and Hollywood. So now I gotta find my lip and cheeks. So if you don't know, Hollywood is a dupe for one of the cult favorite shades. Let's see if I can find 10 lid and pop this baby out so I don't dig my fingers in it. Okay, so Hollywood is a dupe for NARS Orgasm, which is seriously like cult following color. Okay, I call it a more of a light to medium pink, but it's very a peachy pink compared to some of our true pinks. Okay, it's got a tiny bit of peach, and it is our only one that has a little bit of a shimmer to it. Now, I would say on my cheeks, I can't really see much shimmer. I feel like it goes on more matte, but on my lips, I feel like I can see the shimmer. And the opposite, okay, we got Hollywood is Plum. So Plum, I got asked to compare it with Nude. Let's just show you. This is, whoops, I was gonna do it down here. This is Nude, okay? Nude has a little bit of warmth to it. This is Plum. Plum is a little bit darker and cooler. Gosh, there they don't look very different at all. Let me put a little bit more Plum on, okay? So Nude, it's got a touch of warmth. Plum, I consider this a true mauve. It's like a dark mauve, one of my favorites. So good. I'm gonna use, you guys picked 2 mattes. I just realized I need to have a gloss. I need the glow. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use Nude on the cheeks, okay? Since you guys wanted neutral, I feel like this is more neutral. Okay, so blush, bronzer brush, I'm just gonna barely tap. Okay, I'm gonna go smile, go to the outside apple of my cheek, and I'm just gonna start kind of pressing this on. Okay, one of the questions I got was longevity for lip and cheeks. Okay, my first thing is, obviously, I think most of us are layering our lip and cheeks over our highlight. If your highlight is too light and it fades because you're having longevity issues with your highlight, it will pull anything you put on top of it off with it. So if you're putting your contour over your highlight and your highlight fades because it's too light, it'll fade with it, and so will your lip and cheeks. So first things first, if you need color corrector or a new shade, that will make the biggest difference because nothing will last until you have the right highlights. Then I would say put down the most pigmented shades first and layer if needed. The mattes are more pigmented and it kind of, in my opinion, have better longevity than the satins or the glosses, which are more sheer, okay? And those can kind of fade a little bit faster. So since I need some glow. I feel like I still got quite a bit of glow from my glow screen, but I'm gonna show, let's see, another one that was super high up as far as wanting to see was Desert Sunset. Okay, Desert Sunset is probably my choice of like, I wear this a lot in the summer because it's like a very sheer natural gloss. So let's put it right here. Okay, it's kind of peachy, kind of reminds me of like, but it's actually quite sheer when you put it on. It won't change the color much. I'd say Sadie and Desert Sunset. Sadie's a little bit more neutral and Desert Sunset's a little bit more peachy. They won't change the color much if you're wanting to kind of layer and you still want a glow to your cheeks. Put down a matte shade with more pigmentation first. If you're having a lot of trouble with longevity, you could then powder over it. Just apply it a little bit heavier since that powder will kind of tone it down a little bit. And then you can lightly put a little gloss over it if you still want that glow. Just gotta be careful not to add too much gloss or it can look cakey depending on your powder. So I would say use the vanilla dust. You don't want too heavy of a powder and then try to put something like this over it. Okay, so there you go. Plum and Desert Sunset. Now I can go ahead and set the rest of my face. So I will say that if you want a matte look, here is where I would recommend really pressing on anywhere you have just highlight. So when I say highlight, sometimes people question what? Like they think I'm talking about Brightener, but anywhere you have highlight and not contour. Contour, if you powder over your contour, it can really dull it down, but I'd say anywhere you just have highlight. So chin, jawline, nose, under the eyes, this part of the forehead. Kind of the T-zone is where we normally get shiny anyway. And then sometimes jawlines have longevity issues if you know, rest your hand a lot on your face, that kind of thing. So best longevity is using a powder to set your makeup. So for me, I'm just gonna press it on right here. And I like to use a little bit right there in between my brows because I get more shiny there for some reason. And then kind of just the tip of my nose. I don't like the tip of my nose to be shiny. I want the rest of my skin to look pretty dewy. Our vanilla dust, I feel like, will kind of cut the shine. It's great for touch-ups during the day if you are an oily girl. If you are really gearing up for summer and you get more oily out in the heat and humidity, grab yourself a loose powder. That can really help as well. Okay, so then I like to stay spray last. So this will kind of take away that powder finish, but still give me nice longevity. But this is gonna give me a dewy glow. If you want more matte, powder last. Also, I had a client tell me this week, she learned the hard way. If you apply mascara to your lashes, I know I don't show it because I don't wear mascara, but make sure you spray your setting spray before. Otherwise, if your lashes get wet with it and then you blink, you'll suddenly have raccoon eyes. Nobody wants that, right? Okay, so now that I've set my face, I can go ahead and illuminate. I still always use my Perfector. This is rose gold. I swipe in generously. You should be able to see any of these colors as long as you get enough on. So if you generously swipe in and you don't just use your fingers, the creams are subtle. If you want a pop, then you got to use the powders. Okay, right above that upper part of the cheekbone, just so kind of reflects light as you move. So you can also use this anywhere else you want to brighten, but I'm gonna use eyeshadow for the rest of my face. Oh my gosh, okay. I'm talking way too much. You guys voted for Plum Nude Purple Warm Eyes. Here's what I was thinking. Okay, so this is getting way too long, even though I was asked step-by-step for eyes. If you don't know, I do eye tutorials pretty much every week over on IGTV, so check those out. I'm gonna show you one eye complete with shadow and my brows because I was also asked for a brow tutorial. So let me show you really quick since I talk too much. You guys know I can't help it. So grab the line brush. Okay, have your artist find your perfect brow color. Here's what I like to do. I kind of played with it both ways. Sometimes I use the brow wax before and sometimes after. So I'm gonna use it after today. I think that's kind of my preference. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my eyeshadow, and I like Trust, okay, for my brows. I like my brows pretty dark, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start at the head of the brow, and I'm gonna make a straight line right there, okay? I'm going to act like I'm drawing a straight line all the way up to the mid part. So from the head all the way up to the mid part of my arch. Same thing from the arch all the way down to the tail. Like that, okay? Now here, depending on your preference, if you like more like hair strokes, you can kind of do hair strokes upward the head of your brow, like so. I like a pretty defined brow because I don't have a whole lot of definition here. So I'm gonna start up at the top, kind of skip the head, and I'm gonna go all the way up here. Like I did 2 parallel lines, but I'm just coming from here. And then I started here and went to the top of my arch. I can't talk. Then I'm gonna start right there and act like I'm making another parallel line all the way down to the tail, and then I'm just gonna fill that in. Okay, so the tail's filled in. Now I'm gonna fill in all the way to the front part of my brow. So depending on how defined you like it, you can just do short little brow strokes like this, upwards, okay? And then I like to take the spoolie. Oh, this one is, I like to have 2, don't ask me why. So I like to take a clean spoolie and brush it upwards and then down, okay? So I like this part groomed and this part up. Totally personal preference, okay? So that kind of blends all those colors. I have no harsh edges in my brow. Now, the brow wax. The brow wax does not work without some kind of liquid. So either spray water or a little bit of setting spray, okay? Then you need to use your spoolie and kind of rub it through. I like to kind of just rotate it so it gets fully coated, okay? Now here's where I brush them upwards, okay? And then here, you can brush them all up and then kind of just smooth down to hold. Now, the brow wax has a very soft hold, okay? It's not gonna be crunchy or anything, but they will hold your brow in place for sure. Okay, so let's do eyes now. Already primed, I've already used my powder, so I have a nice base. And you guys wanted purple, a lot of mauve, but warm. So here's what we're gonna do. First of all, we're gonna start with the eyeshadow brush because I always start with the eyeshadow brush and my crease. So I have very hooded eyes. So if my eyes are open, if any of your lid is covered by any of this, you have hooded eyes, okay? There's varying degree of hoodedness. But if you can't see your entire eyelid when your eyes are open, you have hooded eyes, okay? So with hooded eyes, it's hard to see the color on your lid, okay, when your eyes are open. So we always want to bring that color up slightly, up and out, to enlarge our eyes. And so we don't like use this dark color to close off our eyes. You won't be able to see it. So I'm going to use the eyeshadow brush. Sorry, my dog is so loud today. And this is Bubba, okay? You guys wanted warmth. I'm going for Bubba. So I'm going to close my eyes. Then I'm going to kind of open them so I can see above that I'll be able to see this color. And then I'm going to windshield wiper it into the crease. Like so. Okay, I'm going to kind of use this as a guide from the nose side of the eye to the tail of the brow, and I'm going to keep the color within that line. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of slowly build color until it's at the depth I want. flip over the brush, use the small end, and run it along the lower lash line. So this will help with your mascara transferring because you suddenly just added a powder right there to kind of set that area as well. And it also defines your lower lash line without a harsh liner. Look how much bigger this eye looks than this eye with just that one color. Okay, so next we're gonna pick a purple shimmer for the lid. These two, I feel like are so similar. I don't think it's necessarily like you need both of them, but I get asked about both of them all the time. So Gigi, okay, these to me are so neutral. Yes, they might be more of that plum purple undertone, but on the eyes, they're so pretty. So Gigi versus Bend and Snap. They're so similar, you guys. If you have one, I don't think you necessarily need both of them. Okay, so I'd say Bend and Snap. I don't know. I honestly used to thought Gigi was darker, but now, I don't know. They're so similar. I don't know if I can describe the difference. What do you guys think? Which one should we use? I feel like I use Bend and Snap all the time. Like this is Bend and Snap, this is Gigi. This one might be a little bit more plum and this one a little bit more purple. They're so stinking similar. Let's use Gigi. I never use Gigi, I always use Bend and Snap. Interchangeable, by far interchangeable. You have one, any tutorial you see with the other one, use them in place of the other one. I swear, you won't be able to tell a difference. So I'm gonna use the smudge brush and I'm just gonna use Gigi all over the eye on the lid. Okay, now this color I feel like can really be built up as dark or as light as you want it to. So that's just really subtle, where you can totally build it up for more pigmentation. I mean, it looks so neutral on. I love that color. Okay, so that was Gigi on the lid. Now I'm gonna go back to a matte, okay? And I'm gonna kind of deepen my crease with Lullaby. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the eyeshadow brush. And this is like, literally, this is Plum in eyeshadow form. Like, look at that. Right? Maybe a little bit lighter, but pretty much. So true mauve, I'm gonna kind of deepen that crease while blending out that lid color. Okay, so this is gonna be in my true crease. So if it helps to kind of use a small end, okay, just like if you're gonna open your eyes. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit of that, my lower lash line as well. Another question that was another color that was highly requested was Rigoletto. Okay, so I feel like Rigoletto is another shade that's, I don't know. I used to always think it was gray, but when you put it on, it's actually pretty warm. Okay, it kind of reminds me of Fin, but it's got less gold in it. Okay, it's not quite so shimmery. So I'm gonna use this as my outer corner depth. So we're just gonna go in with the dome end of the smudge brush and just gonna go right in that outer corner. Okay, build it up as much as you want. You can flip it over. I need my shadow switcher. Okay. Flip it over. Blend. Okay. Use a touch of that on my outer corner as well. Just to connect those two. Now I want to try a little As You Wish. So yes, it's coming back. It's just sold out at the moment. I was asked that as well. This is the color that I call a chameleon shade. It totally looks like yellow in the 10, But if you look at it, I feel like the camera never picks it up. Oh. Maybe. It's iridescent. If you like Starlit Illuminator, this one is like that. It shows up as like purple iridescent. So I was like, this will be fun. Let's put this on the eye to show you guys. Hopefully you'll be able to see it in photos. So I'm gonna grab the multitasker for this one to lay down that pigment a little bit more. And I'm just gonna apply this. Oh gosh, yeah. See, in my mirror, it looks totally purple, and on camera, I can't see it. So I'm just gonna lay it on like the first third of the eye. Yeah, let's hope you can see it on camera. It's gotta be something to do with my lights. So anyway, that is the first third of the eyelid. It reflects really purple. Okay, so if you don't like it to look real purple, maybe skip that one and do the rest of the eye look. And then last but not least, you guys know I can't not brighten my inner corner and whatnot. So Soulmate, okay, inner corner, under the brow. Careful not to get it on your brows when you have just waxed them, or it will stick in your brows. Okay, what do you guys think? Liner or no liner? I'm torn. I don't know. I don't know if it necessarily needs eyeliner. If you want your lashes to look thicker, throw on a little bit of liner. I don't know, I might skip it and just look how much bigger this eye looks. Isn't it amazing what a little bit of depth can do? I never just do one eye on camera like that. So I'm gonna use a little bit of mascara on at least the bottom lashes and see if I need a liner. Okay, so I compromised. Put a little mascara on the bottom lashes, and I used a little bit of Rigoletto. Why can't I say that? And I used the multitasker, and I just kind of smudged a very small amount along my upper lash line, and then just a touch on the outer corner. I like it. Okay, got both eyes done. I feel much better now. Holy moly, longest video ever. I apologize. I know you guys say you don't care, but still, there's a limit. Okay, real quick, let's do some lips. So, I hope I gave you guys the warm, neutral, purple look that you asked for. So, I'm trying to think like what lips would be best. I'm gonna use all three that I used on my cheek. I didn't use all three on my cheeks. I'm gonna use all three on my lips. So, I'm gonna use a multitasker. I'm gonna line my lips with Plum. Okay, the darker lip and cheek matte shades are really good as liner. Okay, if you're like me and like have no lip definition and you need something, this is a good choice. Okay, so lined with Plum, I'm gonna use the multitasker. Again, this time I'm gonna use that Hollywood you guys wanted to see. Okay, Hollywood is one of my faves on the cheeks, just FYI, for spring and summer. But as you can see, you can totally wear Plum, which to me is usually more of a fall tone shade. Like, you guys, our shades are totally universal. They're not really season only shades, if that makes sense. Hollywood with Plum, love that combo. And now I'm just gonna use a touch of that Desert Sunset. It's not gonna change the color, but it's just gonna top it with a gloss. Okay, I feel like you can see the shimmer of Hollywood once it's on the lips. Okay, guys, I think I'm finally done. Oh, I'm sorry, that was so long. Okay, did I answer all the questions? Hang on. Okay, I looked through the questions. I think I answered almost all of them, and ones I didn't were very different subjects, and I'm telling you, all of them I have specific videos on IGTV. So check out Instagram if you're not following me over there. Obviously you are, because that was an Instagram poll, but still, if you're watching this and you asked a question, go check that out, I promise, or DM me directly and I can point you in the direction of that link. So there you go. There's my warm purple spring summer look. I'm so excited that it's finally getting warm. I hope this video helped you and answered some of your questions. If you have any other ones below, just drop them in the comments. And if you need a color match for Seint IIID Foundation, my color match questionnaire is in the link, the drop box below the video. It's linked. Never say that right. If you need help with your foundation. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I love you.